Good evening and welcome to the Vision of Hope show. I am your host and your producer, Deborah Ringo. We're back on the air again. We're excited. We have a great show for you tonight. This will be our last show for a month. We will be back on the air in August after this show. So we want you to tune in and get your peeps together, as you can say. Call them up, text them, whatever you do to contact them to let them know that Vision of Hope, again, is on the air. So I'd like to bring my guest tonight, and that's none other. He's not a stranger to you all. You've seen him several times, and he does such an awesome job. None other than the great Russell Ringo. If we can have Russell Ringo come on, he's our guest tonight, and we have a great show. Welcome to the show again, Mr. Ringo. How are you?
Doing well, and you?
Good. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight, and partly our host, I think. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, so we are going to just start a little bit on, we got a wide range of topics tonight, and one of them that we're going to start on, we want to recap a few things that has already been aired, but we want to make sure that there is more that can be said to you, and we want to make sure that we give you everything that we have that we know that you could use. So, Mr. Ringo, we know you were here and you talked on depression. Can you just kind of give us a recap on that show you were on for that night?
Well, excuse me. Well, one thing that we talked about, shared about, is depression, suicidal, hit on some maybe a little self-esteem or whatever the case may be. It seemed to be a vast thing that's happened to different people, regardless of your race, creed, color, age, that depression seems to be running rapidly throughout the land. So we just know that a lot of studies have been done on depression, and we talked about how can you overcome depression, what causes depression, how long a person stay in a depressed mode. See, that's a difference between depression and a depressed mode. One of them seem to be temporary, and then depression can last for many years, many months. And how can you define whether a person is depressed? Maybe don't have a bad day, maybe don't feel good today, maybe something is going on for that day and you just don't feel like doing anything, you just like forget it. Now if you're in a point of depression, I've been diagnosed with depression, and sometimes it brings about high blood pressure, sometimes you begin to withdraw from people, you begin to just withdraw yourself from every circumstance that you begin to face with. So there are different signs that we talked about that why a person can be depressed or going through depression, loss of a loved one, or remember something tragic that happened to them that remind them on something that caused them pain or hurt. So they fall into a depressed state. They fall into depression, where they stay locked up in the house. They don't come out. They all of them be like hoarders. The place is just like a dark, gloomy place in their mind. So we just try to talk to those that's listening to, it's okay to have a depressed mode. Just a I don't care mode, but yet don't stay there.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that recapping of the show on depression. And as you were talking, I was thinking about where a lot of people don't know the difference of depressed and depression. Because like you said, you can be depressed, but just don't stay there. But depression is what keeps you there. Is that right? It begins to linger. You begin to kind of live in that mode. Am I right?
Well, once you begin to fall into what we term depression, it will have you hostage. It would have you to living but not existing, or existing but yet not living, not very productive in your everyday life. So it can last for as long as you allow it to last, because reality is just depression is a spirit that trying to control you.
Right.
And one thing we got to recognize that it's not the symptoms, but when you begin to recognize certain ailments or diagnosis that's been diagnosed to you, that begin to realize and look up the name and what the name means, and you can begin to tell the spirit of depression that it got to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but it can't have people for years and people on medication and withdrawals and all kind of complication. People have lost homes, and people have lost marriages have been interrupted, homes have been interrupted for his family, because that depression spirit have stepped in and like it fall on mama, dad got it, and it almost begin to be hereditary. You know,
Yes.
it just a depressed family, you know.
Yeah. It sounds like it's something that can travel throughout the home, jump from one to the other. So the reason I wanted to recap that is because there's so much going on around us. There's a lot of things that's happening in the world. And then if we're not careful and if we're not aware, then how are we going to know what to watch out for? So we want, if you are in that state where you just can't seem to shake it, perhaps you might be a little depressed. And how long have you been in that state? It's very important that you don't allow that to be the way of life, because it does become a way of life for some people. And as Mr. Ringo was saying, they begin to exist instead of live. But you want to do more than exist. You want to live, as they can say, I'm living my best life. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to begin to live your best life. So we thank you for that, for recapping. And we just want to go over just a few more. We had Kristen Hopkins on the show, and she's an author. She's an entrepreneur. She's a motivational speaker, and she was just awesome. And her book, the title of her book is Dare. And I mean, she really spoke out to the young people, to the community of the young people, about how she got where she is. And it wasn't overnight. And it wasn't that she didn't experience some things, but she did. But look at her now. She's soaring like an eagle. So we thank Kristen Hopkins for that. And last month we had two elders on the show talking about community. And we were reaching out to the young people. We had Elder Hampton and myself, Elder Ringo. And we were reaching out to the community and letting the community know, as I'm speaking now, we're still here for you. I don't know if you called in to get a CD, but they're still available on any of the shows that you're watching. The CDs are still available. You can call right here at Win TV in Windsor, 860-688-2626, or you can email me, myself, Deborah Ringo, at dedringo@yahoo.com. And whatever way we can help you, that's why we're here. And if there's a topic that you would like to be discussed, a topic that you want to hear more about, know more about, let us know about it. We can put it on the show for you. Who knows? We might want to bring you on the show if you wouldn't mind coming on the show. Why? Because we want to reach everyone that we can reach, because we know that somebody is going through something that we're talking about on Win TV. So again, we're here for you. And right now I'm going to kind of channel this a little bit to Mr. Ringo, because he's gonna be our host for the rest of the show now. Mr. Ringo.
Well, one thing that we talked
Yes.
about, and we want to be able to let those that's listening to be encouraged, but we just going to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes, or whatever case as time present, allow us to question the host and the producer of the show. Ask her a few questions, maybe find out, get more background on her. I know she's been coming on for quite some time, but do we really understand and know the host of this show? And we're going to just ask our host, our producer, a few questions, and by the way of Miss Ringo. So what we want to talk about briefly, what inspired you, or who inspired you to actually begin to, how did Vision of Hope was birthed?
Well, first of all, Vision of Hope was birthed through the start of classes, which is building your self-esteem. And these classes are taught in the adult education in the school system, and they're taught on a one-on-one basis as well as a classroom setting. So I was in the school systems, New Britain, I was in Windsor school system, Bloomfield school system, adult education, and I was in Meriden school system, adult education. And as I was teaching the classes, but there was a beginning to that. The beginning to that was I felt in my spirit to go down to New Britain Board of Education and fill out the form to present my class, not knowing that it would be accepted, but I felt the leading of the Lord to go and to present this class, and I did that, and it was accepted. And doors began to open from there into other adult education schools. And as I began to teach on that level of classroom settings and one-on-one settings, I began to hear the Lord speak to me as I was had come down in some years in the classes, that part of the self-esteem. It had to be about maybe 10 years I was teaching. And I heard the Lord said, you see, draw a tree. And I drew this tree, and he said, draw branches on the tree. And as I began to draw branches on the tree, he said, now your tree, write the word, building your self-esteem. And I wrote the word, building your self-esteem. He said, now on your branches, on one of your branches, write this word, Vision of Hope. I said, okay. So I wrote Vision of Hope. And then what I did was I started in my home with my Vision of Hope was started in my home, in my condominium in Windsor. It started there. I would set up my living room because it was a huge living room. I would set it up, tape it, and then send it down to Win TV. Tape it and then send it down to Win TV. And it wasn't long that I was able to come and be on the show. And I've been here ever since. And I have to say it was only a move of God. It was a move of God that birthed this in my spirit. And there was times that I felt like I didn't want to do this anymore. But there were some people that loved the show that reached out to me and asked me to come back on the show, because I did stop for a minute. And they asked me to come back on the show. And here I am back again, up and running and loving it. And loving it, because when God has something for you and he has a vision for you and a destiny for you, you might not want to do it like he wants you to, but it's not going to stop until God says so. So I thank God for choosing me to do what I'm doing. That's why I have a passion, I have a drive, I have a love, and I have compassion for God's people. Vision of Hope is here not just for me, but for you. It's a vision of hope that says that there's something here that can help you to get through what you're going through.
Okay, we see here that you begin to start off at one level and begin to start off as one-on-one building self-esteem for individuals that had low self-esteem.
Right.
And God began to show you favor to allow you to go into the school systems.
Yep.
Somebody out there might have a idea or have something that they've been trying to birth. But even in that if you stay on course, you're in the race.
Yes.
And see, one thing that you were saying, that how God began a tree, and the Bible talk about the tree of life, and
yes.
And each branch represented an idea.
Right.
Each branch, I had the Lord saying that I told you to put that self-esteem, vision, hope on the limb because there was life in that. Because it was not a dead tree, it was a tree that was flourishing. In. So now even in that, then how would you categorize or how would you put this on the people that in your self-esteem class over the years, and even those the viewers that had been watching for years, how would you feel that you helping them, or sometimes you might feel discouraged that you're not doing enough, or sometimes that because we don't get the feedback, and we feel like that what we're doing is not really, but even some of the challenges or the feedback. So how do you feel over the years that about the course God had called you in this part of your life, that you're helping, hurting, or I'm looking for a higher level?
Well, there's a combination with that, because truly, when you're doing a work, and because at one time, when I first started here with the show Vision of Hope, we were able to have the telephone with the show, and people could call in and ask questions at that time. So that goes way back when they used to have the phone in here, and it would be live. The show would be live. So people would call in and ask questions. They would call in and give their feedback. So I knew that I was reaching the people. But Win TV has since changed. Okay. So in another way that I knew that kept me encouraged was I would be out in the grocery store, I would be in the shop, in the clothing store, and people would walk up and say, "Hey, aren't you that woman that's on Win TV, Vision of Hope?" I knew I was reaching the people. So that encouraged me to keep it going. Now that there is not much really, that is kind of, with the telephone not being there, I do wonder sometimes, because I don't get per se a lot of feedback, but I can tell I get some viewers. I can go on YouTube and I can see that I have some viewers. But it would feel really good to be able to see the faces of the people that I'm reaching. It really would be. But I'm encouraged because, and I have, like I said, when I pulled back, it probably was a little discouragement there, and wondering, okay, where am I going to go with this? Where is this going to go? I don't want to be just doing the same stuff over and over, but I want to make sure that I'm making a difference, you know. So then that's when I said, I'm not going to stop. The Lord didn't tell me to stop. He told me to keep running with it. So I have to believe that what I'm doing is the purpose is really there. And the purpose is really reaching the people, you know, because that's what it's about. And I would love to hear from more people. Of course, it makes you feel better. But I believe that what I'm running with was put in me to do. And somebody somewhere in this land of TV is getting the help that they need. Because God drops the topics in my spirit. He tells me what people to bring on. And, you know, he tells me how to question them and interview them. So why? Because we're reaching, and I'm always saying we need to reach the people. Where are you? What's happening to you? Vision of Hope is here for you. So I'm encouraged in all of that.
Well, one thing that we look at sometimes that you can be discouraged.
Yeah.
Because while you're human, and one thing that begin to look at humble, and that we have a compassion for the people. And I know a lot of people might be listening right now, may have did a small segment, wanted to do it, but for whatever reason, they didn't have the backing of the pushing. So now, name a few people that really push you in your early coming up there, because you didn't just jump out and start flipping like a cheerleader. You had to have some, even though God told you to do it, but if you don't have the right people that you surrounded to push you, you'll never move. So just name a few people that was very instrumental to get you started?
Okay, wonderful. I love that question because it's so important to know that you need support and you need people that's for you. You don't need people that's going to talk down when you speak of your vision, because your vision don't sound real to you when you first get it. It don't sound like it's something that you can reach or do. But God would give you people that will support you and push you. And a few people that were in my corner and in my house and helping me set up and was recording me, and we start was Pastor Geraldine Finley. And she is my co-host and my co-producer. Why? Because she was right there with me, and she's been with me all along. And the other person was Pastor Bowie, that has since then moved down to Jacksonville, Florida. He's a pastor now. He was there because he was the technical person. So he knew how to set up everything that we didn't know how, and he knew how to do the sound check and all of that. So those were the two people that really pushed me from the beginning out when I got established in my living room and pushed on out into a classroom. And not only that, but my sister that is now deceased is the one I did my very first booklet. She's the one that wrote this for me. She wrote it and took it to the printer and had it. I was giving all my thoughts, and she put it in the words for me. And she took it down to the printer and had it printed. So in my classes, I was passing out, or actually a purchase of these of $5. And it breaks down all of the classes that I teach. And it gives a background of how I got from Florida into Connecticut. But these people was there for me and pushing me along the way. And here I am. And sometimes I feel like, where am I going to go now with this? Sometimes I feel like, have I reached my plateau here at this place, So what other door it is going to be open? But I believe there's another door. I believe that.
Well, because if you don't have strong people really to back you, then you just be twirling your fingers and you're just going around and around.
Right.
And thank God for you had a pastor.
Yes.
You had a man of God, and you had your family. See, and one thing that if you can have friends, you can have even laypersons in ministry, but it's a good thing that when you got a family member,
right,
that's backing you, pushing you, and maybe somebody listening that have been watching your program for years might not have had the family support.
Yes.
That you had, and that's why they have not pursued went any further in life.
Right.
And I always saying that if you don't encourage a person to do anything, then they slow about doing anything.
Yes.
And one thing that you have to begin to build up a person's self-esteem.
Yes.
A person's self-worth, that you are somebody. Because one thing the Bible talk about, life and death is in the power of your tongue. Mm-hmm. And I know down through the years, and sometimes people will come back and say, I thank you, because, matter of fact, you had a person recently that were watching the segment on depression, personally called you and said that particular segment show helped them.
Yes,
and so sometimes
absolutely.
You don't know where a person's mind at that particular time.
Mm-hmm. And also with that, Prophet, is that not only just her, but there's a couple in South Carolina. They were able to tap into the show, and they came here to Connecticut because we know their family. So they came here to Connecticut, and they couldn't wait to share with us that they had seen another show. We had Brother Anthony DeCaris on the show, which was an awesome show. Also, he gave his testimony of how the Lord healed him from some ailments in his body. And it was a powerful, powerful testimony. And they were able to tap into that. And when they got here in Connecticut, that was one of the main things they cornered us about, right? And they began to tell us how they just could see so much in the show. And I mean, it was just a blessing to have them to come and just share that. Now, they're all the way in South Carolina, and we're here in Connecticut on Win TV. So I'm here to tell you, be encouraged tonight. And as the prophet was saying, is that, you know, I had a pastor behind me. I had another minister behind me who's now a pastor, and I had my sister behind me. You might not have anybody behind you. So if you need somebody, I'm willing to be behind you. I would love to push you forward, that you can get going in your purpose, that you can get going in your vision. Why? Because it's not just about me, but it's about you. And I believe the Lord dropped it in me that I could be here today because you need to know tonight that whatever you're going through, that God wants to make it good for you, but you just need the right people in your corner.
And then one thing that we have to look at also, that those hosts, and sometimes people think because it's not a syndicated station that's worldwide and it's just a local community network, but there's a lot of people, great people in local communities.
Yes.
Because things do start on a local level and they
Right.
begin to diverse and begin to grow into a statewide and national wide. So sometimes we just say, well, just some people look at the, well, just a mediocre type whatever. But if you can help one person,
Yes.
in the Windsor area, if you help one person, then your job and your television show have not been in vain.
Yes.
If somebody came and said, well, I appreciate it, it helped me, it gave me something to think about, because all it is, not in a nutshell, but as a broad statement, Vision of Hope is really just give you something to think about.
Yes.
It put a seed because you got a vision. Now you got to find the vision, and once you find your vision, so I got hope to the point that my vision will manifest and come to the full fruition, because your self-esteem classes, your book that you have not completed yet,
Yes.
different things God had put on you to do, your hope is that I'm going to complete
Yes. Yes.
this
yes.
task that before me.
Because I still have other things that are started but not yet completed. So those are other branches out that sprouted out from the tree. Also, something you said was very profound was that, and the scripture came to mind when you said this, when you broke down the vision of hope, was when in Habakkuk, when the Bible says, write the vision. He said, though it tarry, he said, but yet it will not. He said, write the vision and make it plain. He said, run with the vision. Though it tarry, it shall come to pass. So there are some other things that I've written down that I have not yet been able to complete because it's yet for an appointed time. So in your life, write the vision, make it plain, go back and read it again. A lot of times we write it and we forget about it and it gets dusty. Dust the dust off and go back and read it so that it can become alive, because though it tarry, it shall come to pass. So we have to be encouraged in that, knowing that, you know, what God has given you, your ideal and your vision is something that's great. It's really great, and it's something that's needed today. And I believe with Vision of Hope being alive on this Win TV, it's needed today.
The one thing the Bible says, he that read it,
Yes.
you know, male, female, whatever case, he that read it, you know, that's why you write it, make it plain, that he that read it. In other words, that what you understand and comprehend what you read it.
Yes.
And you can comprehend, understand, now I can execute what I understand, what I read, and what I seen on a piece of paper. And so that's Vision of Hope is, I read it, I understood it, I looked at it. Now let me execute it to the fullness that God has called me, because you don't know, because it could be somebody there listening tonight is a millionaire.
Right.
And because the Vision of Hope might want to be a blessing to the budget at Win TV.
Okay. Yeah.
So we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. So we're
Yes, we
going
do.
to turn it back in the hands.
Well, he's been a great host tonight, so you can go ahead and finish closing out with the people, and then I'll just take that very end part.
Well,
Whatever the Lord gives you to give to the people, you have that a few minutes.
one thing we want to let you know, to be encouraged tonight, even though that this is not the last show,
For
but
a
it's,
month.
but it's going to be on a station of demarcation for 1 month.
Yes.
So those that are listening, you have heard it, go back and replay on YouTube and begin to look at and pick out the things that will benefit you. And understand that we come back in August, that you're going to have a testimony. You're going to write in. You're going to say, look, that show helped me. And we want to thank you for being patient, and thank you for allowing us to come into your home, because you could have changed the channel, but yet you saved the best is yet to come in Vision of Hope. I'm your host for tonight, and we thank you, and we're going to turn it back in the hands of the producer.
All right. Thank you very much. Very, very good. I'm so glad you were here tonight, Mr. Ringo, to recap and to interview me so that the people could know a little bit about the host. And as the Lord adds, you will begin to know even that part, because I don't have anything. What I have to give out to you is what the Lord give me. Amen. So we are going to end this show for tonight, and it has been fabulous. And we want to again encourage you to hold on to what you have. Hold on to that is right. And surround your people surround yourself with supporters, people that like you, people that are for you, people that are pushing you and encouraging you and building you up and letting you know that in spite of it all, this has been the Vision of Hope. And remember this, you can make it.